Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. And this is my buddy Puccini, who's getting quite big and he helps me in the craft room. At least he keeps me company. We have a fun card for you today. I am back to working through my stash for all of those lovely pieces that we have in our stashes, and I'm working with the Pansy suite and the Pansy papers, and I made a real pretty thank you card, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. So let's just get started. Here is my card, and it is it's got a scalloped edge and it has a piece. I used the tailored tag punch, this punch, once I applied my paper to cut out this little peek hole. And then I took the white that was behind it and used it here to the side, and I used the designer series paper that was cut out from that to push through and decorate the inside, and then I added some additional pieces. I think the only thing I'm going to change up, well, I may not, I would kind of like these to be over a little bit more, but I'm not sure it'll look that good on the card. So I may just leave it the way it is. There's plenty of room inside for you to write your message, and mine is just a simple little thank you card. And what does it take to make this card? I have used a basic white base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. And in fact, I'm going to burnish this one a little bit because it doesn't want to stay closed. There we go. That's a little bit better. All right. And then I've used some of the Pansy paper, and I cut this panel out. It's got the gingham on the back, and this piece is 3 inches by 5 1/4. Then I have this piece that is 2 inches by 5 1/4. And these two pieces are going to go down like this on my card. And then I'm going to punch this out, and that's going to be the piece that peeks through. All right. And then I have another little piece of this Freesia Gingham to go on the inside of the card here. And then I have also punched out a couple of pieces of that DSP with a different one that has flowers on it, so I can put that on the inside like I did here on either side of the piece that I've cut. And then I have a piece of white. You can't depend on punching this out and being able to use that piece of white because it's got some of the gingham on it and it could easily tear or be full of glue. So I've just got a piece of scrap white here that I'm going to punch out my tailored tag for this piece. I'm using a little bit of Evening Evergreen. I'm using some of the in color gems, and I fussy cut out from another piece of that DSP this little flower, and I cut out this piece, and then I cut out a handful of leaves from this paper. And that's what we need to make this. So we can start by putting these two pieces of paper down on our card. So again, 2 inches by 5 1/4. And I'm going to get my seal here to put that in place. And put that right along this edge and making the margins top and bottom match. There we go. And then this piece will go on next, and I'm going to do that same thing. Get my seal here and put this piece right along here, moving it over to this edge and getting my margins right from top to bottom. And there we go. We have our piece. Now then, what I used in addition to this was the, what are they called? They're called the scalloped contour dies. And I have this scalloped edge. And what I'm going to do is put this edge right along here, and I'm going to get it just about to the edge of that paper so that it will leave a little bit of a peek through, and we will put some more of this gingham on the inside. I will cut this part off camera. Then we have, once that piece is done, then I can use my punch to get this piece out of the center. So I'm going to do that next. Okay, so here is my piece die cut. And so I'm just going to very carefully take that off. And there we've got that lovely stitched edge. And that's what's going to show. So this piece, which is cut 3/4 of an inch by 5 1/2, goes all the way down this edge. So I'm going to put some adhesive on that piece and put that right up against the very edge of the card and run that down that entire side of the card. And looks like it's got just a little touch that has to be trimmed off. Okay, there we go. And now we have that look where the gingham is showing through. Now, the next thing we're going to do is punch this piece. So I'm going to take this to the inside of here, and I'm going to set it a little higher than lower. And I'm going to move it, how close to the edge here? I think it's got to be in at least that far. And you can see as I put this in place here that that is going to punch out more towards the top than the bottom. And I'm just putting a little pressure to hold that in place. And that's how much room is left on my punch on either side. So I'm going to go ahead and punch that piece out. And there we have it. So now I've got my little piece that I can look through. And I've got this piece. Now, this had the white on it, so this piece needs to come off of here. I'm going to use my pick tool with my spatula end to do that, to remove that glue and get that piece off of there. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to put down some more glue on the back of this and carefully put that back into place right where it was before this was punched. Just like that. Now, when I open my card, that piece will stick to the inside, but from the outside it looks like it's a solid piece. All right. Now this piece I can probably go ahead and use. It's not always the case, so I had punched an extra one. So let's see. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm using Evening Evergreen and Fresh Freesia inks with this card. And I've got a little dauber here. And I'm just going to go around the edges, maybe a little bit more than even than I did on this one. And there's a couple things to watch when you put this one in place, and I'll show you here in just a second. Let me get this inked up the way I want it and move that ink pad out of the way. And I set this up so that only the very slimmest edge of this punch would show through the other side. And in fact, maybe I'll use that dauber on both sides, and that way that little edge will have a little something on it. Okay, like that. Now, I have a couple of dimensionals that I'm going to put on this, and I'm going to put my dimensionals over to one side. So along this edge here, and I've got some bones here that I'm working with, and so I'm going to put my dimensionals on that side. And the reason is I don't want it to impede with my little keyhole, if that's what you might call it here. So I'm going to set this in place so that it is below here, below this corner, and just peeking over a little bit, and it will bridge and come over the gingham on this side. And there we've got that set up. Now then, I can go ahead and put my flower. I just used, that way all of the decoration that you've got is over here on the card and not visible through the back of here, because that pattern wouldn't look good. We'd have to find a way to do something different with that. But I'm going to put that flower down there, and then here is the long piece that I cut right in here, and I want that to come up and show along there. So I am, well, I guess it can hang off. Let's just see what it looks like. You can always trim it off if I'm not happy with it. So there is my longer stem piece to go on here. There we go. All right. And then I have my thank you, and I just need a little piece of scratch paper here, or scrap, and my evening evergreen ink, and my thank you stamp. And my thank you stamp came from the Pansy patch, and it's this thank you right here. All right. And so I've got my thank you. I'm going to ink it up in evening evergreen. Try real hard not to get any ink on those edges. And see if I can't get a nice clean stamp here. There we go. So there is my thank you. And what I'm going to do is just trim up around this and trim around the top of these letters. It's kind of fun to have the bottom straight and the top a little bit different on the cuts here. I'm going to take that piece off and then come up around my H and around my T and all the way down here, and then come across. Now that's just a little bit long, so I'm going to take that edge off, and there is my thank you. I think it's so cute done that way. And on that one I have it on this side. This is down a little further than that one is. I meant to put it up higher, but I think that'll still work there. I'm going to put a few dimensionals on the back of this thank you, and I'm going to use minis. All right, there is my thank you, which I'm going to put in place, in this case, a little bit further over, so it's not impeded by this. Now, I have my leaves that I fussy cut out from this paper, and I have the three different shades of green, and I think I cut an extra one. Let's see if I can find it here. I thought I had cut an extra dark green. I don't know what happened to it. Okay, so these, I'm just going to add some adhesive to the back of these and put these leaves in place around the bottom of my decoration here. And this one that's the darker green, I want to have pretty prominent here. And then this green, which is more the soft succulent or the stamped off evening evergreen, right in there. I think that looks pretty good. In this case, I'm thinking my bow needs to go over here. So I'm going to go ahead and make a bow, and you'll notice that bow is very tiny. So I'm going to make my bow and just keep reducing its size until I get it just the way I want it, but I want it to be very small. And so I just need to trim off my tails. And get a glue dot on the back of this bow. Okay, so I'm going to put a glue dot on the back of this bow. Maybe I'll pick up 2 of them and put those in place. And I'm thinking that bow may need to go across like that in that decoration. And there we go. That's most of it for the front of the card. And the inside of the card, I did cut 2 more pieces from the designer series paper that had these flowers on it. And I'm just going to make these work on here to make that decoration. And since this has got the color we want in here, I'm going, and that's the bigger piece, I'm going to put that one on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is just add some adhesive and match these 2, top and bottom, together like that, and then put this one and match it on the top. And that one was kind of fun. I hope I get the bumblebee on there. I think I will. Yeah, that's kind of fun to have that. Okay, now then, we're just going to turn these over and trim those edges off. Here's one, and now my second one. And there we have a card that's very unique. It's not a fun fold, but it's not exactly ordinary either. So there we go. There we've got that. And we used our scallop die to get the edge that we wanted. A little bit of the evening evergreen. And now I'm ready to add my embellishments. And what I have is those 20, 21, 23 in color gems. And we have beautiful fresh Freesia ones. So I'm going to put one of those right in there on that piece, and I'm going to dot a couple more around on the card, little ones and big ones, and I'm going to put one out here on the gingham. Fine, I think it needs one more. I'm going to put one more down there. Okay, so there we go. There is my project for today. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, well, I'd love to be your demonstrator. Or you could join my team. Joining Stampin' Up! Is always a good deal. Let's see, what is it? $125 worth of product for $99, and you start out with a 20% discount. That is the deal, and if you'd like to talk about it, my information is always listed below the video where there is a show more button. All of the measurements and products used are also listed there. And let's see, this is still March. And my prize draw for the month of March is a $60 shopping spree on me. And all you have to do to get yourself into the drawing is place an order of any size on my store, lbedinger.stampinup.net. You can get to it through my blog, www.inkandingenuity.com. And so I will be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye!